Happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Modcast. I'm your host, Anwar Richardson. I don't know what the hell just happened there in the background. That was some weirdness. So whoever's watching your little Pornhub, turn it off. It's time to do some work, Jason.
I knew you were gonna single me out on that. I knew it.
Absolutely. But as you guys had already can tell real quickly, Jeff Ketchum is not here. He's on vacation. It's that time of year. It's June, July, where we try to squeeze in a little vacation time before the season kind of gets started. But I'm here. Jason's here. Alex is always here. Travis is coming in, filling in, coming off the bench, but always doing a fantastic job, and want to make sure that we shout out one of our favorite partners, which is Dead Soxy. 25% off Dead Soxy if you use the promo code Orangebloods. We're all Dead Soxy people around here, except Travis. But if the rest of us are Dead Soxy people, we swear by it. Alex was kind of the first person who kind of pumped it up and started telling us all about it, and it made me want to get it. And then when Jason and I finally got it, it's like I just wear mine around the house. I'm just gonna lie. I literally just wear casual socks and dress up socks around the house because they're just that comfortable. So in any case,
I wore my dress Dead Soxy socks with shorts the other day around the house, and my kids were goofing on me. I'm like, they're that good, dude. They're that comfortable. I wore them with shorts.
Yeah, dude, I wear mine all the time. So I'm not gonna lie.
Hey man, Onwar, I can't believe you're not taking the layup here too, man. Father's Day is coming up, right?
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Come on. It's
wait. Oh, that's right. They do something for us on Father's Day. Damn, Alex.
Hey man, it's like, but people make fun of the idea that dads don't like getting socks, man. But that's not true, man. Dads love getting socks. So
good socks.
if you're interested in maybe getting something for your dad or a dad that get 25% off at deadsoxy.com. They're gonna love them.
That's a great idea. Yes, and in fact, I may have to order some for myself. So, but so these kids ain't gonna do a damn thing. But yeah, to go ahead and check that out. So, guys, Jason and I were we were on Overreaction Monday. And he and I started, talking about different things, and the subject of Quinn Ewers kind of came up, and it kind of gave me the context of a show to do today, because I thought it was really fascinating when he and I got into the stats or certain things that were kind of eye-opening, and we started kind of doing a little bit of an over and under. We kind of just did it as relates to Quinn, but I wanted to kind of get your over-under opinions as we start talking about the other players on the team, circumstances, wins, all those kinds of things. So, Jason, you take a back seat on this first one. Alex, I'm going to throw this to you. We're going to do a Quinn Ewers over and under, okay? Which one? And you get to choose whichever one you want. Over and under for you, Alex. 3,100 passing yards for Quinn and 29 touchdowns. Are you going to take the over or under for that 2023 season for Quinn Ewers?
You say 3,129?
Yes.
So what? Last year it was So last year was nearly 2,215 with a 58.1%.
But hey, it's funny, Onwar, that you pulled 3,100, because if you had Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers together, they were at 3,105, if my math is correct. So it's right. They were right at 3,100 last year.
I should do this for a living, is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. How many touchdowns did you say?
29
on the screen, dude. 29.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking at the stats. I guess maybe the 29. He's gonna have much better wide receivers than he did last year, right? I mean, the wide receivers are gonna be better. I mean, as far as Xavier Worthy, if we're all expecting him to take a step forward this next year, if we know that A.D. Mitchell is a huge upgrade on anything that Texas had last season, no offense to Jordan Whittington, but you look at the other guys like the Casey Canes of the world, the Tariq Miltons, these kinds of players, Brennan Thompson. It's a big upgrade to have A.D. Mitchell. Isaiah Nayer could get. I'll take the over. I'll take the over on that. I mean, I think that I like the over on the 3,100 more than I like the over on the 29. But if I'm having to take him as a group, I think that he goes over those.
What do you think, Travis?
Yeah, I'm with Alex on the over for the yardage is almost a given for me. That's 258 yards a game, provided Quinn plays all 12 games. I don't think that's outlandish at all to take the over on that. The 29 touchdowns, though, that's a lot. You're talking what, 2.25 or something like that per game. If I broke them off, I'd go under on the touchdowns and over on the yardage. But I'm with him. If I gotta take the given the emphasis that Sark says he wants on the passing game this year, given that they're going to be breaking in new running backs,
Yeah,
I think I'm going to take the over for both of them.
Well, here's what's interesting, guys. So if we, I gave you a conservative 3,100, right? If you look at Max Duggan's yards from last season, and again, now he had some playoff games in there. So, he had some extra games in there rather, but he finishes with about 36.98, 32 touchdowns, last season. Dylan Gabriel finished with 31.68 with 25 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So we've seen a guy like Dylan Gabriel throw for 3,100. And even a guy like Hunter Deckers, guys, at Iowa State, 3,044 yards, 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Sure, but Hunter Deckers is the bar which everyone's judged by, right?
It's not the bar, because if we went to the bar, Jason and I did this yesterday. Jason, you have the numbers of the guys in the country in front of you?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Hold on. If you want to, we can talk bar, Travis, and let's go in that. So Michael Penix last season, 4,641 passing yards with 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Caleb Williams, 4,537 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Even a guy like Drake Maine from North Carolina with 43, 21, 38, and 7. I say that as the bar because those are the quarterbacks that Quinn's is in the conversation with, right?
Well, there's also Bo Nix. Do you see what Bo Nix had last year?
He's way down. I've got pulled in.
Feels like Bo Nix is in the same discussion.
3,629. So I mean, still good numbers, but 15th nationally.
Closer to Quinn, right? Closer to the on-march projection for Quinn. I guess I don't know if that's his projection or whether that's just what he's trying to
that's
get
the line
on.
I said. That's the line I said for the conversation. So, all right.
I'm going to differ. If they're both taking the over, man, I think I'm taking the under. I think the 3,100, I think he shatters. And I think he's going to put up big numbers for a lot of the same reasons Travis mentioned. I think they're going to throw the ball more. I said this yesterday, I'm more of a pass-first offense to some degree. I agree with Alex. He's got better weapons. I think he'll shatter the yards at 29 touchdowns. I think it's going to be really close. That's a lot of touchdown passes. I mean, if we're talking the 12-game regular season, right? Again, we're not talking.
We'll do 12-game regular season.
Okay, so 12-game regular season, 29 touchdowns. If I'm looking.
But you can add in whatever you want. The conversation could be however you want to go, Jason.
Yeah, Bo Nix, Alex, threw 29 touchdowns, and looks like there were 15 quarterbacks that threw, if what I'm looking at is accurate, 29 touchdowns. So I'm taking the under. I think he's over on the yards, under on the touchdowns.
But you can't do that. He said we can't split them. You got to take the over.
I'm taking the under overall.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why he's taking the under.
If I'm placing one wager, lumping them together, I'm taking the under just barely because of that touchdown number.
Yeah, that's the tricky one because when they get in close, Sark wants to hand it off.
All right.
I mean, it's the plus EV. I mean, it's the plus EV move to take the under on this, because what you're doing is you're basically saying if you take the over on this, you need 2 things to hit. If you take the under on this, you're saying you can get it if only one of them hits. So, I mean, it's plus expected value if we do think that the line's efficient to take the under. So, I mean, it makes sense because we're being asked to take the over on two variables at once. So maybe, I mean, it would make sense that Jason's saying that.
All right,
Of course, that's assuming this is a real bet and that it would get paid off even if it were. So,
Still waiting on that lunch. Alex, still waiting on that lunch.
Well, let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. As I try to come up with the line that'll be tricky for you guys, and let's go for Xavier Worthy. Okay, I'm going to start with them because I'm going to give you an 80 Mitchell line after that one. I'm going to put the line for Xavier at 1,125 receiving yards. 1,125, which would be a career high for him at Texas. What will you guys take? Jason, I'll start with you on this one.
Can I ask you this? How many passing yards? So that's out of a 3,100 yard projection.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's however you took it, right? Yes. But yes, 3,100 yards. So yes.
And that's 1,125. So I just want to see what that market share would be. Just exactly.
Oh, I love Alex in his math.
Yeah, but you're saying 3,100 minimum. He might throw for 3,700 yards. So I mean, but
yeah, but if he's putting the over under there, then that's what he's views as the most efficient. So I'm just for the purposes of that, I'm just going to kind of see what that team market share would be.
1,125 yards is Xavier Hutchinson type numbers from last year. We're talking 107 receptions for Hutchinson, 1,171 yards. I'm pretty comfortably taking the under on this one. In fact, if it was 1,000 yards, I would take the under on this one. I think, as Rogue just said in the chat, the ball will be spread out this season. There's just too many weapons, man. You got to feed too many mouths in this offense. I think Xavier's going to have a better year than he did last year. I think he's going to be more consistent. I think he's going to catch the ball better. Obviously, he had was it a hand or thumb? What was the issue? Hand issue, right?
Yeah, it was a thumb. It was thumb injury.
Okay, so he had that issue that we didn't really know about that he was dealing with. I think he's going to have a much better year in terms of just the consistency and level of his play. But I don't think statistically he's going to take a huge jump up from. He was at 760 yards last year. Now I think he'll surpass that, but I don't know that he gets over 1,000. So I'm comfortably taking the under on 1,125 receiving yards for Worthy.
Okay, fair. Now just for, and I'm not putting them in the same category, but just for comparison's sake, Sark did have a Devontae Smith, on his roster and was able to get, I think, somewhere like, you have to look it up. I think it was like 1,200 yards or something to that effect. So, like I said, try to make it a little tricky here. Travis, if I set the line at 1,125 for Xavier, you're taking the over or the under?
I think I'm going the under as well. That ends up being like, 98 yards a game? But he also averages like 7 yards a catch for each of his first two seasons. So at that rate, I don't see him getting those same number. I don't see him getting enough catches to make 1,125 for the year. Now, look.
He averaged almost 13 yards a catch last year.
Maybe I'm misreading ESPN.
I'm seeing two different things. Two things I click on. I'm showing he went for 60 for 760 last year, right?
Yeah.
So that's
I'm sorry. You're right. That's 12.7. I was looking at the average.
Oh, average receptions, I think you're looking at.
Yeah, never mind. So that's 12.7. Still, it ends up being like 93, 94 yards a game. That's pretty close. I think because I misread the stat, I'm going to change my opinion. I'm going to go the over, but I don't love it. I really don't. Look, if he catches a few more of those deep balls, if he doesn't have the broken hand, if the deep game is fixed, who knows? Mm-hmm. He can get to that number. I mean, that's a few more long bombs, he can get there, but it's going to be tight.
Alex, what do you think?
Well, it's funny because if you just look at the pure yardage. It's you look back over the previous three draft classes, you do have guys like Xavier Hutchinson and the rest of them. But you also have guys like Charlie Jones from Purdue. He had 1361. Tank Dell down at Houston, 1398. This last year, Jackson Smith and Jigba had 1606. But whenever you just look at the pure market shares, just the numbers, and I think this goes to what obviously we're all thinking as close observers of this thing. There's more weapons. There's a lot of mouths to feed. We worry it's like, how you going to get the ball to JT Sanders, whenever you got A.D. Mitchell to get it to, and you got Worthy to get it to, and who knows if Isaiah Nair comes back, and if you're going to be using Savion Red and Keelan Robinson so much in the passing game, when does Jordan Whittington come into focus? Like, there's a lot of mouths to feed, right? And so that's why I just want to look at the market share. If we're looking at 1125 out of something close to 3,100. I mean, that's a 36% market share as far as the team's total receiving yards. And the only market shares that have been higher than that over the course of the last 3 years, last year it was just Trey Palmer from Nebraska who had a 39% share. Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State had a 37% share. And Zay Flowers, of course, the first-round pick from Boston College, had a 36% share. In 2022, there's a few more of these big market share guys. Jalen Tolbert led the way with a 48% share, but we could take him out of the pool simply because he was from South Alabama, right? And it's kind of hard to compare. We can also take Dejon Dixon out of this as well, but that leaves us with Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky, 45%, Traylon Burks from Arkansas, 40%, Sky Moore, maybe we could take him out because he went to Western Michigan, Khalil Shakir from Boise, and that's it. As far as 2021, that was the Devontae Smith year, and he was basically the top of these guys among qualifiers outside of Cade Johnson, who went to South Dakota State. He was at a 40% market share. So as Anwar says, Steve Sarkisian's shown that he can even – isn't it hard to believe that 1,856 receiving yards was only a 40% share in that offense?
That's crazy.
How good was – I mean,
How
good was that offense, and how good was he? Rashad Bateman was a 30 – but that was it, though, because the next down after that was Rashad Bateman and Tylan Wallace, who everybody remembers from Oklahoma State, as well as Elijah Moore now with the Cleveland Browns after being traded from the New York Jets. All those guys sitting at 35% market shares. So a 36% market share is too high for Xavier Worthy, even if you think that he's like a top 20 first-round kind of pick. So given the fact that there are these other extra factors, and we're projecting Quinn to be somewhere in that 3,100 to maybe my expectation after kind of thinking about this would be 3,100 to 3,700 yards. I think that probably makes sense. We're talking about then maybe at the very least a 33% market share. And that still just seems like too much when comparing to these other players, given the competition he has around him. So I'm going to go under.
I love it, Alex.
Alex is making my head hurt.
No, it is. Do you know how fascinating it is to get into the mind of Alex? I mean, it is to see how those things. Because here's the thing, because Alex, I hope he writes about it at some point over the next couple of weeks. And the market share thing is really fascinating. By the way, Alex, I may have just given you a column idea. Just
there you go. Lord knows we need him this time of year. Right?
All right, so stay there, Alex. Don't go too far.
All right.
A.D. Mitchell, okay? I'm going to put him at 850, okay? You're going to take the over or under on A.D. Mitchell if I give you the 850 on him.
So A.D. Mitchell's just got to be Xavier Worthy last year plus 50 yards or something. What did Xavier Worthy have, 800?
760. So plus 90.
So 3,100. Oh, sorry.
It was.
Can you come back to me on this?
Yeah. I'll circle back. Travis, I'll go to you.
All right. I took the over on Worthy, and I didn't feel great about it. I'm going to take the over on Mitchell, and I feel very good about it. I think this is a big play guy that is just defenses are clearly going to have to focus on somebody, and Worthy's going to be the man early on because he's got the reputation. Mitchell's been kind of flying under the radar because he was at Georgia. He wasn't like a premier starter then, although he was expected to be that this year. I think this is a guy that's going to have a big year. I'll take the over. I feel a lot more comfortable about that than I do the Xavier Worthy.
What about you, Jason?
Yeah. So you're taking basically those two are going to combine for over 2,000 yards is what you're saying. Not saying it's not possible, but that's, man, you got Jordan Whittington.
Yeah.
JT Sanders, obviously, the running backs.
We're talking
this is a real
70
tough
yards
one for
a
me,
game.
Anwar. What's that, Travis?
70 yards a game for A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, this one's tough because, let's be honest, he's such a wild card and unknown. We don't know, honestly, how his usage is going to be or how he's going to hold up or how he's going to perform. But if he's as good as people seem to say he is and think he is, and people at Georgia thought he was when he's leaving Georgia, I'm going with the over on that. I think it'll be close. Again, I think it's a good line. But I'm going to go with the over. I don't think he's going to probably be, 1,100-yard receiver or anything crazy like that. But I think he'll push towards 900, maybe between 900 and 1,000. So I'll take the over. But, we're kind of flying blind with A.D. Mitchell a little bit. But I do think he's a good enough player. He's got a good enough quarterback. This offense is going to be explosive enough. He'll hit some big plays like Travis said. I think I'll go with over 850 yards.
So real quick before Alex jumps in, for reference sake, A.D. Mitchell averaged nearly 15 yards a catch for each of the first two seasons at Georgia. If he comes close to that, I think that's a big reason why I'm taking the over. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. No. Don't apologize. Alex, so now that you had the chance to think about it.
Yeah, I wanted to actually go look back and just look at the Georgia stuff too. And for me, my initial lean was over, and that's what I'm going to stick with on this one. I think that A.D. Mitchell is going to be closer to Xavier Worthy, and it'll be slightly over this, and Worthy's going to be down under where that 1125 was. I think those guys will probably kind of have twin stat lines at the end of the season. So A.D. Mitchell, whenever he played at last year when and the yards weren't always there, but the games he played in, it looks like he scored a touchdown in every game he played. Did he score a touchdown in every game he played in? Looking at the game log, that looks about right.
In the playoffs, he did. I'm showing last year, Alex, he had, if this is right, I'm looking on ESPN.com, 9 receptions for 134 yards on the year.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was injured a lot. I
just had the game log pulled up. Like I said, it didn't feel like he had that many yards, but he did have. It looks like
he also got injured early.
Right.
Yeah. But here's the thing about A.D. Mitchell. I know what people from Georgia say about him, what smart people from Georgia say about him, serious people who say that he's their best wide receiver that they lost. I believe George Pickens when he says he's their best wide receiver. George Pickens is a dog and he's a straight shooter, and I don't think that was anything where he was blowing smoke. When you bring a guy like that into the fold, and then you can just kind of see him. I told Jason that first day at practice when we see these guys out there, I just said, well, how long before this guy's running with the ones? It turned out he was actually running with the ones on the very second practice. They just didn't show us, the media, whenever we were out there. So he's going to be the starting X wide receiver. I think that he's uber talented. I think at the end of the year, we're going to be talking about him as an NFL draft pick too, just like we are Xavier Worthy. So I'll go the over with him, especially when we're only talking about, for market shares, it's a big difference between a 36 and just a 26.
I love market share. Jason, we'll go simplistic that because I'm gonna give Alex a time to do this one, so he can figure out the what's less of this market share. Let's go to Jatavian Sanders, okay? Because we've already done offensive guys. I'll stay with some of these guys. I'm going to give you 605 on Jatavian Sanders. That's going to be my line for him as a receiver. Are you going to take the over or under for JT?
It's interesting, Anwar, because before you set that number out there, put that number out there, I was looking. He had 613 last year, okay? Mm-hmm. And in my mind, as you were talking, and again, I hadn't seen your 605 number, so I told myself, I think he's going to take a little step back this year. Not because I don't think he's a fantastic player, but there's just so many weapons, and I think teams understand who JT Sanders is now, and they're going to have to try to take him away maybe a little bit more than they did in the first half of the season last year. So I was thinking, okay, I don't think he's going to, if you'd have set your line at 700 or something, I would have said under easily, because I think he's going to take maybe statistically maybe a slight step back. Boy, 605. I think I'm still going to take the under. I'm looking like first game he had 85. Then the next two games he combined for 9 yards. But then he went 40, 78, 71, 37, 76, 54, 61. Two of his last 3 games he kind of cooled off, including a 1-catch performance against Kansas for 1 yard. I don't know. I just think teams are fully aware of JT Sanders now. How do you do that when you have so many other weapons? How do you scheme to take him out? I'm not quite sure, but I think we'll see him take a bit of a dip in terms of production. So I'm taking the under on the 605. I might be wildly wrong on that. He might go for 1,000 yards as a receiver, but because he's so talented. But I think I'm going to take the under on the 605.
And you took the under on Quinn in the pass overall. You thought he would do good on the passing yards.
Under on
touchdowns. Quite sure about the touchdowns.
I'm under on Worthy's. I forget which 11.25 I think, and I'm over on A.D. Mitchell's receiving.
So in your estimation, you think A.D. Mitchell leads all the receivers in receiving yards this year?
I think he and Worthy will be close. I mean, Whittington's going to get his. Whittington's probably going to be if he stays healthy, of course. I mean, he's going to be a $500-600 yard receiver. I mean, the backs are going to get there. So I just think it's going to be spread so thin. I say so thin. I mean, they're going to get their yards each guy, but I just think there's too many mouths to feed. We're not even talking about the running game, but I just think it's going to be spread out pretty evenly. I don't know that you're going to see one guy put up just monstrous numbers, but yeah, so far I guess you're right. I've got Quinn over on the yardage. I've got A.D. Mitchell over on the yardage. I'm under on Worthy, and I'm just slightly under on Sanders.
I love Paxton in the comments saying push. He goes, I wouldn't bet on this one. I get you. Travis, what are you thinking of a 605 for JT?
My thoughts are kind of in line. We're already kind of in line with Jason that I think I'm expecting a little bit of a regression with Sanders. And again, it's not due to talent. I think he's one of the most talented players on this team. But it is, given the emphasis of the passing game, but also given the emphasis that they're working on the deep passing game, I think that takes away targets. I think we're just going to – you are a good bookie. You set good lines. I'll give you that credit. But it's tough to bet against that. But I've already taken the over on on Worthy. I've already taken the over on A.D. Mitchell. I think those guys are going to get the lion's share of catches and yards, especially with the deep ball. I got to go under on JT Sanders, and I feel bad doing it to him because I like the guy. But,
All right. And then, Alex, what are you doing?
Well, this one was what I was going to come in and I was going to say was like legitimately as I'm looking over last year's tight ends, right, in college football. And just looking at the receiving leaders, right? And the names are all the guys you would think. Brock Bowers, who's going to be a top 10 pick next year, right? I mean, everybody saw him in the college football playoffs for Georgia. Dalton Kincaid, who was the first guy off the board, he was next in line with 890. Michael Mayer, who a lot of people thought would be the first tight end off the board from Notre Dame, now with the Raiders. He was the third tight end 3 in college last year as far as receiving yards with 809. So you got to scroll to get down to tight end 4. Sam Laporta, second round pick to the Detroit Lions, who's already the starter for the Lions out of Iowa. 657. He was in 4th place. There's this kid, Sidhu Traore, who I haven't watched at all. I guess he's from Arizona State or Arkansas. It just says ARST 655, and then I'm like, okay, Arkansas. So the next one down, I'm like, so you're telling me that JT Sanders this year is going to be 6th in the nation as far as tight end receiving? But it turns out the next guy down on the list is Jatavian Sanders from last year. So he's already been that good. And if we're talking about JT Sanders possibly being the top tight end in this class, which a lot of people are. I saw a tweet about it just yesterday saying who's tight end 2 after Bowers this year, and it had a picture on the tweet of JT Sanders, and it said list your favorite. I'm with Jason in that I think he's a great player, and I just worry about just this simple law of the conservation of targets. There's going to be less targets to go around this year. With that said, I feel like he's one player on this team, one of a very few players on this team that really do have that kind of first-round undeniable talent. And I think he knows he needs a big year. I think that what some of these people are saying about in the chat about how, having these really good wide receivers on the outside could open things up for him. We do know he's a nightmare matchup as far as up the seam versus these nickelbacks versus these safeties versus these linebackers. He's just going to be getting better. So I'm against my better judgment. I'm gonna take the over. I think he goes slightly over. I think it's a big year for JT Sanders. I don't think it'll be too far over this, but I think he'll again be one of the top 5 tight ends in college football as far as his receiving yards number.
Hey, I love the thought process, Alex, and it was really it's crazy that when we look at the tight end numbers, like you're right, they don't have to be 800 yards to be effective. Just being in that 600 500 range is, that's good enough.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting when it's tough with all the weapons here to figure out what it's going to do. Now Travis gave me a compliment by saying I'm a good bookie. I don't know if I'm going to be a good bookie on the line that I'm about to put out there for Jonathan Brooks, but I'm making it a little tricky because here's the deal, and this is Jonathan Brooks and nobody else. Okay, so we're not going to add in all the running backs, starting running backs. You got to factor in how sold you are on Jonathan Brooks. Do you think CJ Baxter is going to eventually get some run? So this is going to be a pure Jonathan Brooks with no caveats and no anything there, period. Jonathan Brooks, I'm putting him at 925 from a rushing yard standpoint. Alex, you're already shaking your head.
Yeah,
so
under. I just think this is going to be just way too big a committee. I'm not going to say that Jonathan Brooks is going to be 1,000-yard back this year. CJ Baxter's too good. He's one of the best running backs in the country. Jaden Blue, I know people are up and down about him, but it's like, come on, man. Like he's a really, really good player too. They're going to want to get these other guys involved. There's going to be as many as 5 running backs going all the time. You tell me this backfield's going to the whole backfield's just going to be handed off to Jay Brooks? He's pretty. I understand. I see in the comments, and somebody's going to say it. When's the last time Sark didn't have 1,000-yard rusher? I get it. What's the bigger deal, though? Getting the best players on the field, having a dynamic offense that makes the opposing defensive coordinator's life a pain in the ass, or keeping up some cockamamie tradition that you have around some arbitrary number in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I'm going under here. It's by far the one that I'm most confident in.
Wow. Okay. Travis, are you as confident?
I am in the over. And
look, let's flip
this
side.
Is terrible take.
Let me plant my flag right now as the
Yeah.
president of the Jonathan Brooks fan club.
Hey, you're like 3 years too late on that, dude.
All right. Let me plant my flag right now as the vice president of the Jonathan Brooks fan club. Look, the guy in his first 2 seasons has averaged nearly 7 yards per carry already. Now, I know that's in limited time.
In garbage time.
Duty. But it is still 7 yards per carry. He's been as good per carry as Bijan and Roshan were last year. He is the guy who I think is going to get I hear you about Baxter. He's a good running back, but this is the lead bell cow back that's going to win the job, in my opinion. And we'll see how it plays out coming into August. But to get to 925, he's going to need 77 yards per game. At 7 yards per carry, you're talking about 10 to 12 carries per game. I think he gets more than that. The reason Sark talks about having a 1,000-yard rusher every year is because he rides his horse. He finds them and he rides them. So I don't think it's cockamamie to say if Brooks is the guy, and I think he is. then he's going to get over 925 this year. I still think he is the best running back. I think he's being undersold. I understand what you're saying about Brooks, but I mean about Baxter, but I think Brooks is the guy. I'm taking the over.
Alex, you're just shaking your head. You just no.
Yeah,
I
I can't believe that we're comparing the yards per carry for Brooks
but he's done it over 2 seasons
and garbage and complete garbage time.
Okay, but talent is talent, and he's won out in that talent. Even against garbage time.
Let me see if I can pull up some more advanced stats on Jay Brooks here, and we can just go ahead.
I think he's the guy. I think he's going to win the job. And by the way, Baxter had his chance to stake a claim this spring, and he did okay, but he didn't do anything in the spring game that just screamed it's his job. None of those guys did anything that just screamed it's his job. I think if Brooks were healthy, he would have had a much better Alamo Bowl game, and this would be less of a conversation than, I think he could have done it right then and there, and everybody would just be expecting it. I'm expecting it.
So Jonathan Brooks, let's see here. So let me get some number. He's actually. I thought I was about to throw some advanced stats in your face, Travis, but his advanced stats actually don't look bad as far as his yards after contact. Yards after contact for attempt that's been better than Bijan and Roschon Johnson. 5.07. That's
every
wild.
time I've watched that guy play, he just looks good to me. Every time.
With the breakaway run percentage is higher than both of them. We're looking at a 38.6 and a 39.6 out of Bijan and Roschon to a 54.3 out of Brooks. Yeah, yards per route run is even better than. As far as a receiver, he had a better yards per route run. The only thing, it looks like maybe the advanced stats are a little bit better than I would have thought for Jay Brooks. But man, he's done it versus just, it's been the fourth quarter whenever Rice has their backups out there. And you say talent is talent. The same can be said about what's happening on the opposite side of the football.
Sure. But we've seen a lot of running backs come through that get garbage time carry that still don't average 7 yards a carry. So I'm staking my claim as the VP.
Jason, what do you think?
This one's interesting to me because there's so much depth in the running back room. I could make a case, Almar, that Jonathan Brooks is going to get 300 yards this year. He rushed for 197 last year. I can make a case that he's going to get 1,500 yards this year if he is the bell cow running back behind a really good offensive line. I think he's that good of a player. I think he's super talented. I'm in line with Travis. I think he's going to win the job. There are a lot of running backs I understand he's competing with, and we don't even know if he's going to be the starting running back, much less the guy that's going to get predominantly get the carries for Texas. But 925 yards would put him exactly at the 51st best running back in the country last year in terms of yardage. So I think Jonathan Brooks gets that. I'm a little worried about the depth, and if they spread it around, and C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue and Savion Red and all these guys, Keelan Robinson, of course. I think Brooks is good enough that when he gets his chance, I think he's going to take the job. I think he's going to be your starter. He's going to be a guy that he was a workhorse back in high school. This guy can handle a lot of carries. They're going to try to keep the tread fresh on him to some degree, but I think he can be your workhorse back and get 20-plus carries a game. If that happens, if that comes to fruition, I think he's well over 925. That being said, hey, if C.J. Baxter or somebody beats him out, then we may be looking at 250 yards. But I have confidence in Jonathan Brooks. I think he's a great player. Just been high on him ever since he was a badass at a small classification in high school. I know people inside the Texas building, the football offices, even when he was a recruit, they thought he was the best running back in the country that they had, that nobody was really talking about. We saw what he did in leading Howellsville to the state title game. Unbelievable run. I get it, small school classification, but he did what tremendous players should do against. He was a man amongst boys. He's produced every time he's played. Alex threw out some stats there that I mean, the dude just produces every time he gets a chance. If he stays healthy, I'm going over 925 for Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, and I concur with you, Jason, with all those those caveats. But it's going to be interesting. I'm glad you guys like the line. Alex, this was going to be right up your ballpark. Because I'm going to go
right up my ballpark.
Yeah.
Where's he going with that?
Did I get my sayings confused?
Right up your pause. Ballpark.
This to be right up your alley, I believe, is the word the phrase I'm supposed to use. But it's going to be on the offensive line stat. It's going to be a cumulative one there. It's going to be sacks allowed, Alex, okay? And I'm going to set the line at sacks allowed at 19.5 for the Longhorn offense this season.
Okay, so is that sacks allowed by the offensive line or sacks allowed on the season?
Okay, I mean,
because sometimes sacks are allowed by the H-back, sometimes they're allowed by the running back, sometimes
we'll go cumulative.
I don't know how many sacks were allowed last year. I know how many sacks the offensive line allowed. Do you guys know how many sacks?
I'm looking right now. Okay, sacks by Texas. We're giving up 19 sacks in 13 games given up last year.
All right, can you give me a quick second on this before I go, so I can get some of my numbers?
Yes, all right. So you go ahead and process and come back with your analysis. Jason, since you clearly didn't have a Lake Travis education and clearly less formal,
Westlake. Don't get that mixed up. He's a Westlake guy.
Westlake, excuse me. The other, yes. I'm sorry. Oh God,
I'm a proud Lake Travis resident now, though. Man, I'm happy my kids will be LTISD for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a little confusion there as far as his loyalty is concerned. But I think once he realized Drew Brees dissed him, I think he really said the hell with it as relates to Westlake. So what do you think?
Drew didn't diss me. When did Drew diss me?
My stellar Bay City Black Cat education. I'm going to tell you a funny story. You'll probably see this video today. There's a guy that he actually helped me hang a TV and run my audio video equipment 10 years ago, and I needed some help from him potentially. And he saw the video yesterday. He goes, "Hey, he texted me, goes, I can come this week." And he goes, "I'll help you hang that diploma of yours too." And I talked yesterday on the overreaction video. I've got my University of Texas diploma just sitting here face down, like on my desk. I need to hang it up. So,
nice.
Yeah, but I got a good kick out of that. But so to answer your question, under 19.5, they give up 19 in 13 games last year. We're basing this on a 12-game sample still, I'm assuming. I'm going under, man. There's no reason to think this line shouldn't be improved. Quinn Ewers should be improved in terms of, just quicker reads and things of nature in the offense. So I am going pretty comfortably with the under 19.5 sacks allowed.
Travis?
Yeah, and I'm the same. If 19 was the number last year, look, Texas is one of only 8 schools in the entire nation that return all 5 offensive line starters. Now, as Alex will tell you, we may see some shuffling in there. We still don't know who's going to be the right guard. It may not be the same lineup as last year. But the point is, there's a lot of talent there, and there's a lot of talent returning. I expect a better year on the offensive line this year. So if 19 was the number last year, I'll take the under. But I will say, I don't love Quinn Ewers' pocket movement. I think he's not as bad as what we've seen in the past, but I don't think he's all that great at avoiding the rush. But I'll still take the under.
Well, he just dropped that bomb and then walked away real quick.
Well, yeah, I did. I know I did. And I was brain farting the name of our previous quarterback who's in Indy right now.
Sam.
Thank you. Ellinger stepped into sacks left and right.
That's a pretty big brain fart, Travis.
I know, but that's my brain. Ellinger stepped into sacks left and right. Quinn is not as bad as that, but I still don't love his pocket awareness. But
I disagree. I think he's got good pocket awareness, man.
All right.
Fair enough. Okay, that we'll say that for another video. There'll be 10 more Quinn Ewers videos before the start of the season at least.
We do know whenever he gets pressure, whenever you get the adjusted pressure percentage against him, it completely goes to smithereens. So maybe what you're seeing, Travis, is more kind of when he's under pressure, what Jason's seeing as when he has a clean pocket. Because I do agree, whenever he has a clean pocket, he can manipulate it pretty well. All right, so what I'll say is this. So 9 sacks allowed by the offensive line last year. So
19.
No, 9 by the
you're
offensive
saying
line.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
He's going more specific about the line.
19 total allowed. And I just look at it, and I think what just kind of going off what Travis was saying, and I agree with both what Jason and Travis both said. I agree with both their takes. I think that the offensive line is going to be better. It's going to be incumbent upon a guy like Jatavian Sanders to improve and be better, which we're baking in. I'll get to my one concern about this because I'm going to take the under, right? But I do have one big concern about it. The reason why, though, that my most important one, it just has to do with Cole Hudson, right? I don't think that Cole Hudson is going to be the starter this year the same way that he was last year. And the amount of disruption that he allowed was pretty. I mean, we're talking about the guy that led the whole offense, and he allowed 13 pressures last year. He led the whole offense. He allowed 5.5 quarterback hits last year. That's 18.5 times that could have been sacks, right? 18.5 that could have been sacks. You know, you have that guy out there now for the whole season. He becomes a liability. Whereas DJ Campbell, yes, he played only 1/7 the snaps of Cole Hudson, but he didn't allow any hits or any pressures. You know, so I feel like he'll be probably.
How is that possible? I remember the one where he let the guy have the free run and Quinn Ewers cussed him out. I mean,
because that was a sack.
Oh, okay.
That was a sack, right?
I don't remember. I just remember Quinn cussing him out. It was caught on camera.
He also allowed 3.5 TFLs, but as far as pure hits, pure pressures, he didn't have them. Whereas you look at Cole Hudson, 4 sacks, 5.5 hits, 13 pressures, 12.5 run stuffs, 2.5 TFLs, 3 penalties. I mean, a lot of disruption coming from that right guard spot. Okay, here's my one concern: running back pass protection. Now, I can't say that I've watched Jonathan Brooks, the backup running back that's played against complete scrubs anytime that he's gotten in there. I haven't seen his pass pro, but in just looking, and I hate PFF, but in just looking at what they say, they have him rated as a miserable pass protector. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know who's doing that grading. I think it's a weird poppycock Wizard of Oz behind some damn curtain somewhere. I think it's so crazy they don't tell us who does these grades or what they're grading on. With that being said, he gets really bad grades for that. And I don't need to even look at the PFF grades. I don't even need to look at what all the NFL draft analysts say about it. I don't need to see him at the Senior Bowl to know that Roschon Johnson is was the best pass protector in this last draft. By far. It's what the Chicago Bears coaches say they like most about him. It's why he's going to have the third down rule immediately right when he gets there. It's not because they think he can catch the ball well. It's because they just say this kid's a brick, you-know-what house, and pass pro. So losing a guy like that and having guys who are young, who are either inexperienced like Brooks, or who haven't played like Blue, or who are true freshmen like CJ Baxter, you worry a little bit about them being able to pick up some of these linebacker and more exotic blitzes. But yeah, I'm going to say that it's going to be under just because of the strength of the offensive line and their continued development.
All right, let's do a couple of defensive ones. I know, we've getting close to an hour, so we'll see how many we can get knocked in. If not, I'll save these questions for another time, and we can pick up the show. Let's make it uncomfortable for everybody here because there is a Sorrell lingering in the chat, and so let's make it uncomfortable. And let's talk about Baron Sorrell. And I'm going to put the line of sacks for Baron Sorrell.
Don't put it at 8.5.
I put it at 7.5.
Okay. All right.
I'm putting Baron Sorrell at 7.5. He finished with 5.5 last season.
Yeah. If you're gonna,
so let's make it uncomfortable because Pops is watching all of you.
yeah.
All right, Alex.
Well, if you were gonna put it, if you're gonna put it at 8.5, that was gonna be my hard one, right? Putting it at 8.5 would have made it hard for me because then you're basically saying he just takes a few games off from getting the sack, just a few games off from getting the sack if we're getting up to 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is more than a few. He can take 4 games off from getting the sack. That's where I'm going to and this is for regular season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the over. I think he takes a step forward this year. 8.5 would have had me feeling really bad about maybe some kind of answer that Barry might not have liked to hear in the chat.
What about you, Travis? Is it just that simple for you?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short. I'm just going to go over. I do want to see Barry hop into the chat and give his number on the over/under.
We know what his number is. It's going to be a 10.
I mean, there's just not a whole lot of pass rushers on this defense, and he's kind of the most proven, so I'll take the over.
Jason?
Man, I think that's a really good line. I'm looking, he had 5.5 last year. He got 1.5 in the season opener, 1.5 West Virginia, 1.5 TC. So you got 4.5 there, and then the 5th one came in K-State. But there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, if I'm counting correctly, where he didn't record an official sack. But I say that, and then I look at the jump he made from year 1 of playing to year 2. I mean, he went from a 0 sack guy and an 8 tackle guy to 44 and 5.5. He is the one known in that front 7. I'm saying one known commodity. Obviously, we know the other guys and we know what they're capable of, but I think he's the one guy that is going to produce. I'm looking at the jump from 2021 to 2022. I think it stands to reason he'll be better in 2023. I think 7.5 is really close, Anwar, but I think he gets to 8. I know Barry will probably say he'll be 10 plus, and maybe he will be. I don't know, but yeah, and I think also Barron probably knows, hey, this could be a big contract year for him if he wants to make some big money in the NFL. So I think I'm going over on that, but I think it's going to be really close. I think that's a really good line you said.
I mean, when's the last time we've had an edge rusher at Texas with that kind of,
Joseph Osai?
Yeah, I was about to say Osai.
Yeah, and he was still kind of like a hybridish kind of thing, but I see what you're saying. So Osai.
Oh, you're not talking about guys like, I think, what, Alex Okafor or was Jeff Coat before him? And when was Ced Reed? I forgot how those guys all exactly went.
I think that was the line. Okafor was the most recent, then Jeff Coat, and then Reed. I could be wrong, but I think that was.
Yeah, I should know that.
Thinking back to that era was the last guy we can think about a strong side defensive. Oh, Charles.
Yeah.
Charles. Yeah.
But I don't remember Omenemy. He never put up like huge numbers in college, did he?
I don't remember what his sack numbers.
No, I don't think so.
He was a good presence off the edge, though. I'd be interested to look back and see what his sack numbers were. I mean, I clearly have it somewhere. I just
Standard. So we got Sorrell. I think all you guys took the over, and Jason was a little hesitant on that one. I'm gonna go here. Let's go Jalen Ford, Blake. I'm gonna put his tackles up. I'm setting a line for Jalen Ford at $124.
Hey, real quickly, Anwar, if I can interrupt, Omenihu did have 9.5 sacks his senior year.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jason. So Jason, I'll start with you.
124 tackles.
Yes, for Jalen Ford.
He had 119 last year. I think that's going to be tough. They need him to reproduce those numbers because there's not a lot of depth at the linebacker position. Obviously, they're going to need him on the field a lot. But I'm looking 119. Where did that rank in tackles last year? Sorry. Okay, that was second in the conference in tackles last year. I mean, he's going to be a key part of that defense. Obviously, Texas needs him on the field every single snap. But, someone said, you can't have a 0 tackle game 1 like you did last year, obviously. I mean, I don't think that
was going to be my point. That was going to be my point.
So if you throw that into the equation, you think, okay, he'll probably go well over that 119. But let me look at his game log as I pull this up. So, man, he's awfully consistent. If I'm going backwards from the Washington game: 10, 13, 5, 9, 10, 6, 8, 7. But if you start with Alabama, he had 10, 15. He had 0 in the first game. Then he went 10, 15, 12, 14 in those next 4 games. He was just playing out of his mind for those games 2 through 5. I'm going under, though, Onward. I think it's going to be tough to kind of have those huge games where he maybe racks up 14 type tackles. So I think he'll certainly surpass 100 tackles, probably 110, 115. But I'm going to go a little bit under on the 124.
What about you?
Mine's easy. Mine's easy. I'll just say it right now. Two reasons. One, like the first thing I thought of was that first game where I was just like, this guy, this is worrisome, right? This is really worrisome that this guy didn't even get in on 1 tackle. I'm also going to say that even though you lose Keandre Coburn, who's a space eater there in the middle, Tavondre Sweat is an excellent space eater. He's a guy that really, really frees things up for linebackers. If you watch the film and you watch it enough, you really see it. And the same can be said of Byron Murphy. He's hard to handle up there. He's going to free up space for these guys to come and run free. I don't see a drop off coming from Jalen Ford. I know that last year was it came from out of nowhere, but now it's like the genie's out of the bottle, the toothpaste is out of the tube. We've seen what he can do. I honestly think that the combination of Murphy and Sweat up front is going to be better for the linebackers as far as keeping them clean than the combination that we saw a lot last year with Keandre Coburn, who's good with that stuff, and Moro Jomo, who was disruptive on his own, but not necessarily as good at keeping those linebackers clean. So I'm going to say over for Jalen Ford.
What about you, Trav?
Yeah, I'm taking the over too. I think it's pretty close. But Alex talking reminded me, PK's defense is kind of built to free up these linebackers to be able to play. So given his track record last season, I think I'm going to take the over, but it's another good line set by you.
Thank you. All right. I've got several more, but I think I'll just do maybe like 2 more here. So we don't go an hour and a half. So I'm gonna try to pick out the best. So I'll start with actually this one probably just will be a Jason question. Okay. So Jason, this is going to be a recruiting.
Why does that scare me? Oh, okay.
It is. It's a recruiting ranking question, Jason. I'm going to set it at 6.5. Does the Longhorn finish better or worse, over and under, than 6.5 in the recruiting rankings when it's all said and done?
Can I just cut off?
They ain't gonna like this.
Can I cut off my camera right now? I think it's going to be higher than 6.5, I guess would be how I'd phrase that. Can they get there? Yes, but they've got to close on multiple of these 5-star players like Micah Hudson, Colin Simmons, even Ryan Wingo is coming in this weekend. It's possible, Anwar. And again, Anwar, you always give me shit for it, but hey, if they have a great season on the field, yes, that helps them get there. But I don't think it's going to be higher than 6.5. I don't think they're going to finish 6th or higher. I think it's going to be below that.
Okay, so you think it's going to you're top 10?
I think it's going to be really close. I do think top 10, but I think it's going to be really close. I think 10 to 12, 10 to 12 range probably.
All right, I'm going to give Alex 2 back-to-back. So I'm going to give him the defensive tackle one. So Alex, this will be a U one. I've got Tavondre Sweat at 32 tackles, and I got Byron Murphy at 28. So Sweat at 32. I've got Murphy at 28.
What are the official numbers for those guys? What are the teams' numbers? Because my numbers are always different from the teams because I don't agree with the way that they identify talent.
Sorry, I'm looking.
Go ahead, go. Thank you.
Sweat last year was 29 total tackles.
And so, I mean, are we double counting this?
And that counts.
Okay,
Those
I mean,
are
really?
in the bowl game.
It's their
29
numbers,
for real?
Alex.
That's in 13 games,
29?
Alex.
I had Sweat at 29 tackles. Do they double count tackles and TFLs?
No, he had, according to the official stats, he had 9 solos, 20 assists.
Okay, I have 8 solos, 21
in fact, I don't even see
assists.
tackles
Okay,
for loss on this.
and then so what? And what was the other one?
I said I gave you Sweat at 32
Murphy.
and Murphy at 28.
Well, and what were Murphy? Let's see.
Murphy was 24 total tackles last year per the official.
I had Murphy at 23 total tackles, 10 solo, 13 assists. 32 and 28.
Yes.
They're both going over.
Just that it took you longer to figure it out than it did to answer it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think that those are very hard. Those are both going over. It took me a while to just kind of look at it and say, like, okay, well, Coburn's gone, Ojomo is gone. Those two guys are going to start, and then I mean, the guys behind them, immediately behind them, Vernon Broughton, who we're still kind of, jury is still out on. Unfortunately, Alfred Collins, the jury is still out on him. You have guys like Aaron Bryant, who didn't do anything last year, that are really, really pushing to make that too deep. You even have guys like who are true freshmen, Sadir Mitchell, who are going to be playing. Whereas these guys last year were, 38% kind of players. I don't think that they're ever going to, I don't think Bo Davis is ever going to have these guys at, 60% of the total snaps. I guess I'd have to consider Trill Carter, but he's not a good player. So I'm going to say these guys are going to be up to 55% snap counts. It's just that, for both of them, they've been so good on a per snap basis that the tackle volume is going to increase as they get more playing time.
All right. Travis, I'm going to send you something right here in our chat because I want to throw this at you. I don't want you to be too blinded by this. Okay. So I'm going to, we'll do 2 more here. And since we can kind of rapid fire, I'm going to go with long passing plays. And I'm talking about plays over 70 yards this season. So 70 yards this season. I'm sending a line at 1 point.
That's a long passing
I said
play.
long. I'm going to throw it at 1.5. This is the gauge your confidence in this offense, in this passing game here. If I set it at 1.5, you're going to take the over or under as relates to that.
So looking at the stat you just sent me, Texas had 0 last year. So if they hook up, I think the over is a pretty easy over. I mean, it's simply because Worthy's speed, Jonte Cook's speed, A.D. Mitchell's can be a long play guy. I think the talent is there. It's just as long as the ball gets to him. And if the improvement, like we've reported that we've heard, Quinn has improved with his deep ball, if it's there, I'm going to take the over.
What about you, Alex? Where would you go?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like they left like 3 of those on the table in one game last year. It's like, dude, that thing's going over for sure. I mean, and I'm talking about Quinn and Worthy, right? If those two have had a year to get on the same damn page, dude. If they don't have more than 1.5 of those, just be like, that could have just been, this thing could have been 1.5 Xavier Worthy 70-yard touchdown bombs from Quinn Ewers, and I would have taken the over. I feel like I've seen probably 3 or 4 just left on the table, right?
That's a long 70 yards is a long play. To answer someone's question in the chat, they did not even have a 50-yard pass play last year. I'm taking the under. 70 yards is a long pass play, man. Shockingly, TCU had 5 of them? That's crazy.
I could picture it in my head. I can see balls either bouncing off Worthy's hands or Worthy just being 5 yards away from where it lands. And if they get that stuff together, I don't know if all those were 70 yards, man. Those were deep, deep balls though, where he had a lot of green grass ahead
Kansas
of him.
State, OU, and Baylor all had 2 each last year. So
yeah, some of that can be a little dump to Deuce Vaughn, who then races up the sideline for 80 or whatever, for 80 yards.
Texas has those kind of guys, horses in the stable. Even somebody like Brooks catching the ball out of the backfield, who, he's a very talented catcher coming out of the backfield. A wheel route coming out of the backfield on the 20-yard line is a 70-yard touchdown pass sometimes. So
I don't know if I love Jonathan Brooks. I don't know if he's a 70-yard touchdown reception type of back though.
He had a 70 something. His longest run last year was over 70 yards. I think it was 75 yards was his longest run.
Fair enough. All right, guys. I have more, but we can do this for another 30 minutes. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys chiming in. I'm glad that you guys like the lines that I said. So let's do some parting shots here. Jason, I will start with you. Go Travis, and then of course Alex.
Yeah, I talked about it yesterday, Almar. Big recruiting weekend for Texas this weekend. I don't want to get into that again. But I wrote about it in my 3-2-1 column on Orangebloods today. Kind of random, but I literally just got a notification I'd put on my phone. My daughter has her driving test tomorrow and her driver's license appointment to get her license on Thursday. So if you live in the Leander Cedar Park area, I'm sorry. Keep your head on a swivel, because that girl's going to drive my insurance rates through the roof, I have a feeling, because oh my goodness. First off, we got to see if she passes her driver's test. But yeah, just sorry, Leander, Cedar Park area residents. Keep your head on a swivel for a blonde teenage girl driving around, because she may very well run you off the road.
Nice. Awesome. Travis, what about you, buddy?
I got to talk about the heartbreak last night at Stanford. This Texas baseball team, I've said all year, I thought they were basically a regional type team. They exceeded that by just getting to the super regionals, even if they had won, I still think they get boat raced as soon as they get to Omaha. But it's still a tough break. It's heartbreak to lose just because one of your best players loses the ball in the twilight hours. That's a gut punch right there. It was still a phenomenal year by Texas. I think they outperformed what the kind of team they really are. So kudos to Coach Pierce and the players for coming together like that, being able to play the way they did. I think it was a very good season. It was a tough way to end it, though. So,
yeah, that was definitely tough. Jason, did you watch? Because you were trying to decide if you were the jinx or not.
I was going back and forth on War. I turned it off when they fell behind 3-0. Sure enough, they came back and tied it. But then I did watch them tie it up. So I was like, okay, maybe the jinx is kind of off. And then of course, I watched the end. And like Travis, I don't think
warned you about that,
huh?
I've warned you about that, haven't I?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But it was like, you just felt so bad for the players, man, come off the field. That was just a heartbreaking way to lose a game. Yeah.
Alex?
Yeah, man, I'm sad about baseball. It was just the first time in a long time that I've, watched these guys and, over the course of a couple series and stuff like that, starting to get to know some of the players and everything. I don't know much about baseball, but I certainly enjoy just watching it, kind of having something I can watch as a casual fan. And it was a tough way. And I just felt last night, just like, how does that happen? Like, golly, they're not going to Omaha now because of this. It's just, it's a really, really weird way for it to end. And, so to feel bad about that, but just want to say happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hope you have a great weekend. Hoping we can pray for some of this rain, some of these rain chances to come hit us. What I want for Father's Day is I want Lake Travis to come up at least 12 feet for at least one day so I can get on my boat once. And yeah, man, Colin Simmons, no matter what.
My party shot is, by the way, when's the last time you were able to go out in a boat, Alex?
July 4th, 2022. when there was the last day that the lake was at 650. I could probably get in somewhere else, but I'm over at Siesta Shores right here by my house, and the lake's got to be at 650 to get in there, and it's been right at 638, 639 this whole year. It's up a little bit with this rain that we've had, but yeah.
Well, I concur with you, Alex. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there. I hope you guys celebrate them for all the hard work that they do. Father's Day is not like Mother's Day, and we all understand that and realize it. We know moms get showered with appreciation, but dads like Alex, who go out there and build fences and dig trenches and does all the hard work and all the crazy ass labor that he does out there. And of course, kids can't get candy, of course. And then of course, Jason, with everything that he does for his family and how he provides for all of them and takes them to all these damn events. I feel like Jason has probably filed more stories from his car at one of his kids' events over the past few years than any other place at his home. Like, it's always like, I'm at this track meet, guys. I'm at this place here. I'm always filing from here, because he's out there supporting the family and everyone. And of course, Catch, everybody, myself, I've been a.
What about AAU dad Onwar? Come on, man.
And been single dad Onwar since May of last year with my youngest, raising a 4-year-old by myself. And so, but yeah, he gets to go visit his mom for an extended period of time starting next week. So I ain't gonna be mad at that. So, but nonetheless, everybody celebrate the fathers that are out there. We work hard. We do everything as much as we can. Not a lot of praise. So go above and beyond. First of all, give them a dead soxy. Start there with the dead soxy there. We're using that promo code of Orangebloods at 25%. Even a guy like Barry Sorrell, he's in here every week pumping up his kid. What kind of good dad is that every week he comes into the Lions Den to let you guys know that's what I do for my kid. Right, Travis? You're nodding.
Yeah,
you understand.
Because I'm thinking Barron needs to spend some NIL money on his dad this year. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. So get him some dead soxy, some other things, because he absolutely deserves it. But for everybody, for Jeff Ketchum, for Blake behind the scenes, for Jason, for Travis, thank you for coming in, and Alex and stuff. You guys have a fantastic week. I'll have Drunk Unk later this week. We'll have K&A, some version of it. We're doing it. It might be the off season, but we're doing our best to provide you guys with content. So we'll see you guys next week. Everybody take care.